What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Doing all right? Good. So, today's video, I'm going to talk about how comfortable staying in the Matrix can be. And what I mean by the Matrix, many of you may think of the movie, but which is what I'm talking about, but to break it down even in more simpler terms, it's the everyday of our lives that have us plugged in to repetition, that have us accept things the way that they seem. And the reason why this gets very comfortable is because truth and let me say the idea of truth, the idea of the known is very comfortable to humans. We oftentimes have a great fear of the unknown. This idea of a little man or woman going into a room and stepping in front of a camera for the nightly news that we can tune into every night if we want to at 11 o'clock or 7 o'clock. The consistency in that and the politically correctness and the professionalism of that has been soothing our egos and has, again, even if it's not true information, the idea that it is true, the idea that these people in suits or dresses care about us, and not only care about us, but are getting correct, accurate information, legitimate information, calms us, it comforts us. And, even with all the craziness going on in the world, the news, and I talk about the news because the news is such a big part of the Matrix. The news helps your mind, helps the human mind think of the world as still this place where nothing kind of goes wrong. Again, like you can, at the end of the day, you can sit on your couch, with a bowl of cereal and watch the news and everything, more or less is going to be okay. It doesn't want you to see the world in its true nature, which is often very messy, often very primal, often very not politically correct. A couple weeks ago, I was at a coffee shop and there was this happens all over. It's not, rare, but I saw a couple of people, with their masks on talking about, fundraising for COVID-19, and they were getting really, angry about teacher safety and different tax things for teachers to pay for the teachers because they're in fear of getting sick from the students. And, they were talking about the NFL players who were testing positive and sports players. And you could just feel that they were wrapped around the stories and the narratives that form the matrix of our current world right now with the whole COVID-19 narrative. And just this idea of how legitimate everything is that, the newscasters are telling us. What I would offer them, or anyone who is so invested into these stories, is to question if the news didn't, on repetition every single day, talk about this virus, or anything in particular, if it didn't get further legitimized by NFL players testing positive, celebrities testing positive, by companies setting these big fundraisers, fueling the madness of this, of this disease by even the CDC standards, which is barely killing anyone. But again, this idea that all of this is 100% set in stone real, right? Even though the narrative is horrible. I mean, I feel for people who go around town now still thinking there's this deadly virus where you have to, wear a mask outside and in your car and everywhere. But even with this very hard to handle, traumatic, fearful narrative of COVID-19 and all these other storylines in the news, human beings rather have that than question that it's a lie, than question that it's being severely fabricated, because that starts to shatter the matrix that you're so comfortable with. That starts to have you feel unsettling feelings in your body when you're watching the news, because you start to tune into whether they're telling the truth or not. Again, we get all these images of, scientists working on the vaccine with, masks and hazmat suits and everything. And again, asking yourself, if it wasn't for all of these bombardment of images coming through my television set, through my phone, through word of mouth from neighbors, would I actually feel that there's a deadly virus happening in the world? And that's just something to ask yourself. But yeah, we're so comfortable with, again, this idea of something being familiar, something being fed to us by officials as truth, and the more we can just feel into that there's other possibilities going on right now, that the narratives being presented are just one way of looking at it, the freer we can be. But again, so many people, and this is kind of a subconscious process too, don't even want to look at any other viewpoints, because it's so scary to our sense of self that likes the boat not rocked. But I guarantee you, if you start looking with a different lens at other people's conversations, at company actions, at everything being played a certain way in society, right? Even subtly, like Taco Bell has a sticker they put on their tacos, sealed for your safety or something like that, and it's everything aside, it's that's doing diddly squat, but even that, it's subliminally, if your mind is not conscious of things, it's saying there's a virus, even Taco Bell needs to protect me, even they're taking steps. There's all this legitimization of what's going on. And again, the more you take a step back and ask yourself, is this what's really going on? The more choices you'll have. And while it can be very uncomfortable at first to start to break out of the matrix, to start breaking out of the the normal thought patterns of society, the rewards of it are huge, because you're no longer you stop to operate under illusions that control you and that don't have your best interests at heart.